obviously, financially, it's a blow as far as City are concerned. A lot made of the fact that they'll now get a bit of extra rest, which is right. And I'll tell you the other thing, Coisty, is a lot of other Premier League sides, we haven't mentioned this, but a lot of other Premier League sides will be heading out to the States or elsewhere in the world to play their pre-season games. So is City any worse off than they are?
I would suggest yes. I would suggest yes, because the pre-season schedule that these clubs will be doing is all prepared, and they do it every season. This is something new. Whether you call it pre-season or post-season, it's certainly a tournament in between the end and the start, and it is a competition that takes a lot of involvement in terms of your training, because it's a massive tournament and you prepare for it as you would any big tournament. And you can hear the disappointment in Bernardo Silva's interview there, and he's absolutely right in everything he says. There's not one of those players at any of the clubs are looking to get knocked out early so they can get a holiday. That's an accusation that can never be levelled at them, because once you start in a tournament, it doesn't matter who you are, what the tournament is, you want to win it and you want to do your best in it. And the City players will be absolutely no different from that. It will be a little bit, I wouldn't call it a break, a slight bonus in the respect that they will have more time now, for a break before they prepare for the start of the season. But the fact of the matter is, they have been out there, they've been out there a long time, they've been playing games, some big games that will have taken its toll, as they do on players. And we won't know, I don't think, until we watch Chelsea and Manchester City later on in next season.
I mean, one positive I would say for them is the fact that the new boys, Cherki, Reinders, Nouri, they've had a chance to bond, they've had a chance to learn a lot about each other.
Yeah, of course it is. It's like anything else, and normally they wouldn't have the opportunity to do it until pre-season. But for example, that the Liverpool lads will do when they go to pre-season, that will give them a chance to bond with their new teammates, which is, as you say and correctly say, is very, very important. From City's point of view, I don't know, I'm just a little bit concerned again, and I know people will say to me, it's a one-off game against Al Hilal, and it is, and they've been knocked out, and that can happen. It doesn't take away from the shock and the surprise. It is a big shock and it is a massive surprise. But I'll say it again, Jeff. The thing that triggered off my concern a little bit was the way they were losing goals. Now, and it's not a pre-season friendly, and it's not an end-of-season game. It's a proper game and a proper tournament where you want to do well, and that would be a concern for me.
And Pep wanted to win it, there's no question about that. And now the other big question mark is around Rodri, who came on as a substitute before then going off again later in the game. So what happened? We asked the Guardian's Manchester correspondent, Jamie Jackson, exactly that earlier in the show.
He was forced off, having been a substitute himself. So, I don't think it's great at all. Hopefully for him and City, it's a knock, etc. But the fact that he had to come off, especially after I think he certainly started the game against Juventus and looked good. The whole team did. It's not a great sort of eventuality, because again, one of the massive issues he had last season, Guardiola, is he could not solve Rodri being out. I understand, Ballon d'Or winner, all the rest of it, but you have to you can't rely on, one player. We all know that. And that's kind of what happened last season with De Bruyne also being, injury hammered and not quite the player he has been. So, these are issues.
Well, it's a big issue. It's a big worry, isn't it? We're waiting for some sort of statement just to clarify what has happened to Rodri. We hope it's nothing more than a tweak, but it's got to be a big concern for
That's
Pep.
A massive concern. That is because Jamie's 100% correct in what he said there. I felt, it wasn't the main reason. Well, actually, it was the main reason. It wasn't the total reason, the whole reason that Manchester City's form dipped during last season, Jeff, right? Because it did. I mean, when they went in that run, I think they won 1 in 12 and they lost 9 of them, which was absolutely remarkable. Now, I would suggest one of the main reasons was Rodri not being in that side, but it wasn't the entire reason. This is the thing. So he is absolutely vital to Manchester City moving forward. And I'm sitting, and I obviously hope for the lad himself, there is something else. We mentioned it with a wee chat before about it, you and I, didn't we? When you come back from a serious injury, whether it's a knee or an ankle or a broken leg, whatever it is, your body will try and compensate, and you'll feel like twinges in other areas. And I just hope, from his point of view and City's point of view, it's something like that.
Does Pep need to curb his attacking instincts a little, do you think? I'm just looking yesterday at the starting lineup. He's got Doku and Savinho as the wide men, neither of whom are particularly renowned for their defensive qualities. And at the back, he's got Mateus Nunes and Ryan Aït-Nouri, who are both better going forward than they are defensively.
Well, interesting to listen to Danny there, and we spoke to Danny, and Danny correctly speaks about it in a defensive manner, because that was where he played, and he makes some extremely valid points. Manchester, well, look at the FA Cup final, for example. Manchester City, don't or haven't been keeping clean sheets on a regular basis, right? So, stating the obvious, when that's the case, you've got to score goals and you've got to score more than the opposition. You don't do that, you have a chance of losing the game. That's what happened in the cup final. They huffed and puffed, and Crystal Palace scored a brilliant goal and deserved to win the cup final.
Yeah.
And then you look at the other side of it, they're scoring 3 goals last night and losing 4. So I would suggest that their problems would certainly be more defensive. I know they didn't score in the cup final, but I would suggest certainly the problems are far more defensively orientated than they are forward areas.
Which brings us to Greeno's point here. He said, do you think that City need to get a centre-half in? Conceding so many goals must be worried. Stones and Ake not fit, and Ruben Dias for me seems to have gone downhill. That was Greeno's view.
Greeno, I agree. I was Ruben Dias's biggest fan. I really was. He's just dipped. Now, whether it's a dip in form, you would hope that's all it is, but he doesn't seem the same centre-back that he once was and the same leader that he once was. Guardiola's going to come in there and play left centre-back, but they really are missing John Stones. They're really missing John Stones, Jeff. And as you say, I don't think it would do them any harm. I don't know if the two fullbacks that played against Al Hilal are capable of just sitting a little bit more defensively, but I don't think it would do them any harm having 2 fullbacks. I'm not saying just sit there in a back 4, tight back 4 all the time, but perhaps be a little bit more aware of your defensive duties.
Yeah.